Good afternoon, royals. Good afternoon, kings and queens of the land. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. My name is Mngoni Mkonto. This is the Royal Opinion. Click the like button and subscribe. Click the like button and subscribe to support the Royal Opinion. You are allowed to comment about our topic, about our subject. Everybody is allowed to participate and to add their views the way they think. Today we're talking about the issue, a very important issue, which I have termed the first confrontation, which will be between the GNU and the MK party on Monday. It has happened before in the past that President Zuma or the MK party put a particular request to institutions of government to stop them from going ahead with implementation of certain issues. Every time in the past, people have been ignored. President Zuma has been ignored. And President Zuma has never called for people of South Africa or for the MK members to go and protest against any of the decisions that were made against the MK party or against the people. This time around, for the first time, the MK party and President Zuma calls for their members to go out in their numbers and fight against the decision to exclude Judge President Hlophe or Dr. Hlophe from performing his work as deployed by the MK party, the JSC. So the MK party have decided to use two methods. They say it's two legal methods because the first method alone does not work because obviously the MK party has been ignored several times by the courts. Previously, the MK party or President Jacob Zuma made a call that he made a call that the IEC should not go ahead to announce its result until the case of vote rigging is being finalized. The IEC ignored President Zuma and went ahead and announced the election. The MK party and President Zuma has never called for a protest against the decision. For the first time, the MK party calls for a protest against a decision of court. For those who does not understand politics, for those who are not aware what is happening, the Democratic Alliance or Helen Zille is the representative of our colonial master in South Africa. She is the current representative of the colonial project in South Africa. She is the one who oversees the process. Um, so Helen Zille is the one who ensures that uh, she removes black people who are supposed to bring serious change into life of other black people through their participation in government. She's a gatekeeper to ensure that all the black people who are meant to make change into the lives of other black people are removed and forgotten, and all the spies and the sellouts are hailed and praised as heroes of black people. Let me share this video. I want to share this video. Let's listen to.
Particularly in our question of the day, the Judicial Service Commission has resolved to go ahead with its October sitting, despite the MK Party's threat of legal action. The party is seeking the postponement of the JSC sitting. This after the Western Cape High Court granted an urgent interdict of a three-part application brought by the DA Corruption Watch and Freedom Under Law to
I said they will go ahead with their meeting. I said it before. I said the JSC will go ahead with their sitting. I said the interdict in the court will be ignored, or a statement will be issued by the court rejecting to hear the issue, the request of the MK party to interdict the sitting. I think the judge will just issue the statement. So this is a declaration of war. Helen Zille and his people declaring that the sitting will go ahead without the participation of Judge Hlophe, who was excluded by the Democratic Alliance from participation. But the Democratic Alliance, being a gatekeeper, being the Helen Zille, being the architect of apartheid and racism in South Africa. Let's listen in.
Prevent MK Party parliamentary leader Dr. John Hlophe from participating in the city. Now, attorneys on behalf of the MK Party contended that the effect of the interdict renders the JSC improperly constituted. Now, to talk more about what this means for Dr. Hlophe's future in the Judicial Service Commission, we're joined by Nthabiseng Dubazana. She's the founder and director at Dubazana Attorneys. It's an absolute pleasure to have you, Nthabiseng. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's get a bit of a legal understanding here. What does the Western Cape interim interdict mean for Mkhonto weSizwe's parliamentary leader, Dr. John Hlophe's position in the Judicial Service Commission, as the application was in three parts?
Yes, so because it's an interdict, it is not a final situation wherein it is dictated that Dr. Hlophe can no longer participate in anything relating to the JSC. So with the three parts that have now been, the first part having been dealt with, the remainder two parts, once they're being dealt with, then the applicants, which is the Democratic Alliance, I believe, and all of the other parties who were the applicants in this matter, have to now bring back the rule nisi, that's what it's called, have to bring back the rule nisi to the court to say that after the order that was granted on this particular day, Parts A and Part B have now been adhered to or have been dealt with, and therefore we are seeking that this interdict be made final, and therefore Dr. Hlophe should not be allowed or permitted to participate in the JSC selection of judges.
I mean, for now, Dr. Hlophe remains a member of the JSC until a further review of the National Assembly's decision to designate Hlophe as a member of the JSC is done, as requested by the court.
So this is why our propaganda works. When they say for now, Dr. Hlophe remains part of the JSC, is to calm down the public This is how propaganda works. This is the programming of the public now. This is how they want the public to view the issue. Now, the SABC, whoever that they are interviewing here, and the line of their questioning and the line of their storyline is to create an impression that there's no need to panic about any issue. Nobody should be worried about any issue because Dr. Hlophe is not excluded as yet. He will not. He will only not. He will only be excluded from this meeting, which is the interviewing of judges, according to them. But it's not like that. The truth is, Dr. Hlophe will be excluded in the JSC. So let's go ahead, but be aware that what you are listening to, the propaganda and the programming of the nation. How does the programming happens?
My question is, what are the constitutional implications that actually could result from this?
So there is nothing in the Constitution that prevents somebody in the position that Ndate Hlophe is in to be a member of the JSC. There's nothing in there that specifically says somebody who has been impeached or somebody who has a specific kind of thing attached to them in that kind of manner. Because remember, the application was that because he is impeached.
She's saying the truth. This is the truth. She's saying there's nothing according to law that the DA can use to prevent Dr. Hlophe to go to work as the member of the JSC. That's what she's saying. And that is the truth. There's nothing that the DA has against Dr. Hlophe, which is against the law, which they can use against him to exclude him from participating in the JSC. That is why they say he's not morally okay. They say he's not morally okay because he has been impeached from the Western Cape High Court. And the reason, the statement that made him to be impeached is Sitembelegu Mfanagiti. That statement is the statement that the DA is saying is Dr. Hlophe has done a gross misconduct for Sitembelegu Mfanagiti. That is gross misconduct according to the propaganda. And then now they are no more saying the reason why Dr. Hlophe was impeached. He was impeached for saying Sitembelegu Mfanagiti. Just for saying those statements, they said he was morally corrupt, he should be removed. Now they are using that, his removal from the JSC. Now they are using that removal, his removal from the JSC to remove, they are using his removal as a judge to remove him now as a JSC member. The reason they want to remove Dr. Hlophe is because they can't buy him. He cannot be bought. He's for black people. It's for the revolution of black people. It's for the change in the black society. Let's go ahead and listen to this propaganda while we are dissecting.
She is therefore not a proper person, fit and proper person, I beg your pardon, to sit in the JSC and also adjudicate on the application and the confirmation of judges who are yet to be judges in the various high courts. So based on that alone, there is nothing in the Constitution or even in the law that prevents him to actually be part of the people that do that kind of work. So as it is, I believe what the MK is trying to do is say that.
And as it is, Dr. Hlophe is the most qualified among the 23, the most qualified who can do this job, the most qualified, the most experienced among the 23 people who are sent in to do the job. So the most qualified, the most experienced is the one who is getting removed from doing the work. Let's go on and listen to the propaganda.
That in that respect, by virtue of the court granting this order, they are going against the Constitution, because nowhere in the Constitution does it condone what the Western Cape has currently done. We're not saying that the Western Cape is wrong or right. It's just saying that based on the application in the manner that in which it was brought to them, they are now granting this interim interdict on the condition that the review of the appointment of Ndate Hlophe is done, and if the National Assembly is...
So they have granted this interdict based on no law. The interdict granting to this, it was not based on any law. It was based on them judging Dr. Hlophe on morals. They say he's morally corrupt or he's morally devout. And the reason they say he's morally corrupt is not going to be able to serve is because he said Stembelewu Mfanagi. That's the statement that caused the DA and the white people to say that Dr. Hlophe cannot be able to serve in the JSC because he says Stembelewu Mfanagi. That statement is the one that makes him morally corrupt. And in the Constitution, they can't find any law to take him out. There's no law that allows them to remove Dr. Hlophe. But however, they have been granted the interdict to stop him from participation.
Still of the opinion that he should continue in his role, then the Western Cape High Court may be forced to now remove the interim order and then confirm that he may proceed and conduct his duties.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose now we look and see what Dr. Hlophe's next step is, and I imagine he will be able to appeal this interim interdict, but will this be able to prevent the next JSE meeting this month?
We hope not. Unfortunately, we are struggling severely in the high courts. We have a lack of judges. Matters are delayed. I mean, we have dates for opposed matters coming 4.5 years, 5 years from now. That's the only date you can get. There are no dates this year, next year, or the year after. So that in itself, if this delay is done, we are finding ourselves in a dire situation. So we don't know. We hope that it doesn't delay the process and then it actually starts, so that maybe we have some glimmer of hope that we'll get dates sooner than 4.5 years from now. But in the manner in which things are going, I do have a feeling that it may be disrupted with the legal application that will be brought by the MK party to stop or halt the process whilst their legal battle in terms of the interim order that has been granted to be uplifted so that their member can be allowed to participate in the proceedings.
I must say it's important to actually get the perspective of what's going on in the courts and how important this actually is, even though there's wrangling on the sides in terms of what's happening on the JSC. But it's the functionality of the courts that has come under the spotlight as well. And, you know, this needs to move on. We cannot afford to have any more delays. And I'm glad you've brought that up. But let me ask you this. I mean, was the DA...
Yeah, this is how they are programming the public. This has to move on because there's a lot of pressure in the courts. They have to appoint judges. This has to move on without Dr. Hlophe. This is how they are programming the people, creating a sense of agency as if they want to solve the problem, while the intention is not to solve the problem. The intention is to exclude Dr. Hlophe from the interviews so that they can be able to appoint their own stooge or their own stupid that are going to place there, who is going to follow all the orders that the GNU will want as a judge, because the DA is desperately looking to hold on to power. They're desperately looking to hold on to power. Power is slipping away from white people. Black people are in their numbers now, gathering their numbers, getting their numbers together. So there's a fear that white people may lose power in South Africa. So they create these sorts of propaganda to ensure this is to disturb the people who are supposed to go out and fight against the psychology of the people who are supposed to go out and fight against the GNU on the 7th and fight against the city, so that they must think that when they do that, they are against the improvements in the court, they are against the speedy resolving of cases in the courts, while they actually know the purpose of that. It's not for speedy resolving cases. It has been Cases have been happening like that forever, and it will continue to happen slowly like that forever. Judge President John Hlophe is one person who came up with a strategy in the Western Cape High Court to eradicate backlog. If you look at his record in the Western Cape High Court, you will understand that Judge President Hlophe was the one who implemented better strategies across the country to be able to run the court efficiently and deliver judgment faster. So let's continue to listen to the program.
And the NGO's urgent interdict about the independence of the judiciary. Is this what it's about, or is it actually just a political matter that's at play here?
You know what? I'm not sure if I would say if it is a situation where we're doing a balance and checks situation, because remember, when we moved from the apartheid system to the system that we have now, the executive, the legislature, and parliament have to check on each other to ensure that one doesn't work independently of the other, and therefore, the executive doesn't make decisions on its own, which is going to affect the country in a negative manner. With that being said,
this is what she's saying. She's saying Parliament is no more able to make decision without the courts. The courts have to be the ones who are giving direction. But she's sugarcoating that explanation as if it's a supervisory kind of way. It's not supervisory, it's dictatorial kind of way. The courts are the ones who are dictating what Parliament should do. In actual fact, we should just do away with Parliament, and courts act as Parliament, and act as courts, act as everything that they want to do, because they do everything. There's nothing else that they are not doing. There's no separation of powers. So they are supposed to be just. So this is the people that they pay as people who come to analyze issues on SABC, while they're actually PR officers of politicians. So this is the PR officer of Ramaphosa. Let's listen to her as she campaigned for Ramaphosa.
Said, we've seen so many matters relating to political issues being resolved in the courts, whereas there are other forums that could be used to resolve these matters. So this also adds to the judiciary not having enough adjudicators or judges to deal with these matters. So unfortunately, our courts seem to be a political playground, because that's where most of our political parties go to try and resolve their issues, instead of maybe going for an ADR situation or going to the respective forums that can deal with it. They go straight to the courts, and now the courts have to deal with the political issues, because if they don't, they affect the country adversely in whatever situation that is happening there. So I'm not sure what exactly is happening here, but what I do know is that it is extremely frustrating on the court system.
Remember, the courts are not supposed to be involved in the work of parliament. They are not supposed to make decisions on behalf of parliament. At the moment, that's what the courts are doing. And this is because of the fact that in South Africa, we've got constitutional supremacy. It means whatever you do, wherever you are, whoever you are, the court in South Africa will be the last person to adjudicate on your issue. Parliament cannot take a decision. Uh, uh, the decision of Parliament can be overturned by the South African courts, which was not supposed to be like that, because the decisions of Parliament are decisions of the public. Decisions of Parliament are decisions of the people, because the people who are in Parliament represent the people on the ground, the people of the country. So decisions of Parliament are decisions of the people. So if you take the decisions of the people and overturn them in court, then who are you to overturn the decisions of the people who have voted for and who have put the court in place? Who are you to overturn the decisions of Parliament? The decisions of Parliament are not supposed to be overturned by the courts. That is judicial overreach. So that's what is happening at the moment. There's a judicial overreach in order to protect the minority. Their worry initially was that if they can open for black people to vote, that is the reason why in South Africa we had a white government and black people were excluded from voting. It's because if they open for votes, then black people will always be winning because black people are in majority. So now they've come up with a strategy to stop black people from winning. Besides dividing black people, they have a strategy to stop black people from ruling, even if they win. They have a strategy to stop black people from ruling. Even if you can win parliament, you cannot be able to rule because the courts are the ones who will be adjudicating over that issue, and they control the courts. They control the courts. They have power over the courts. Let's continue to listen to the propaganda and the propagandist. This lady, the journalist, and this lady, uh, this is a PR officer of President Ramaphosa and the GNU, and the journalist is the biggest propagandist in the SABC.
Because matters in all aspects. It used to be just Gauteng, but it's now spreading throughout the country, whereby most of our high courts cannot handle the load. And when we appoint acting judges, they're only appointed for a period of 2 weeks or 2 months, and that's not enough. And when we request, or when there's a request that people should apply for a longer term for acting, there's a requirement whereby you have to have 15 years experience and all of those things. And a lot of the people who have 15 plus years experience have retired, or they're no longer interested in doing what, adjudication or judging or whatever the case may be. And then the rest of the parties who are 10 years experience, who are actively in litigation, are prevented from actually assisting the High Court. So we are dealing with a situation where we're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Yeah. So it's a mess. That's all I know. It's a mess.
That's not great news to hear that as well. Just let me quickly just end off with this. The MK Party attorneys have contended that the effect of the interdict renders the JSE sitting improperly constituted. That's what they've said. Do they have a case?
Yes, so they are the requirements are that the JSC has to have certain members from different political parties, right? And each party has the privilege of appointing whomever that they want to represent them in the JSC. So now, having been denied the opportunity for their chosen member to sit in there, they are saying that it is improperly constituted because it falls short of the requirements in terms of Section 178, I'm not mistaken, of the Constitution. So therefore, if they're going to challenge this order as it stands, they'll be challenging it based, I believe, on that particular aspect, that it is improperly constituted. Yeah, there's somebody who is missing. There's a shortage of people in terms of how it's supposed to be sitting, and therefore it should not be sitting. So the argument that the DA had raised in their papers is saying we're not preventing.
So this is literally removing a member of another political party by the DA, removing him from participating, voted by uh, people uh, that see you as their enemy. So because you've got a power, the DA and Helen Zille have got the power to remove any person from any political power, in any political party, because they have the money to bribe, they have the money to, let's remember, they have bribed Cyril Ramaphosa, they've given him money in order to take over the ANC. So they've actually placed President Ramaphosa in the ANC. The white people and the DA have placed Ramaphosa in the ANC. So now, this is literally venting or uh, removing members that are deemed by the DA to be too radical to be allowed to participate in certain platforms. Dr. Hlophe is too radical for the DA because they cannot buy him. They know him. They can't buy him, and they know the people that they can be able to buy. So they want the people that they can be able to buy to be the ones who will be participating in the in this JSC scheme that they want to run. So they want the MK party to remove Dr. Hlophe and bring another person, probably somebody of their own choice, because if it's not their choice, they are going to remove them. So the DA has got power to choose their own members who will go to participate in the JSC, and have got power to choose members of the MK party who's going to participate in the JSC. So that cannot be allowed. If the MK members allow such a thing to happen, then they don't have any organization, they don't have any party. They will always be pushed around by Helen Zille. Helen Zille will always command what will happen in the MK party when it comes to serious issues. If the MK members will allow Helen Zille to dictate that Dr. Hlophe should not be part of the meetings, then the MK members may as well close the organization and go and join the DA with the Helen Zille, because we don't have any political party anymore. There won't be any political party left anymore. The MK party may as well, members may as well close and go home. If they are going to allow Helen Zille and the DA to dictate to them whom they are going to send to the JSC, or to represent them anywhere. MK party has never approved any DA member. MK party has never approved any ANC member. So DA now has to approve MK members who are going to parliament. So this is clearly a violation of human rights. It's a violation of the people who have voted, us who have voted for these organizations. We are violated, we are taken for granted. So if the MK members who have voted for the MK to go and represent them, if they allow Helen Zille to dictate to them who to send to go and represent the MK party, let the MK party closes and let them join the Democratic Alliance under Helen Zille. I thank everybody for joining. Please comment, click the like button and subscribe. Tell us where you're watching us from. My name is Mngonu Mkondo. This is the Royal Opinion. This is where we're going to end our live stream. Thank you very much to everybody for joining.